Okay, that just pissed me off. I just shot this entire video and the mic wasn't plugged in, so we're gonna have to do it all over again. Let's get to it. Check, 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 1, 2. You better fucking work this time. Hey, it's your dandy, Candy. And today, we're going to be talking about Surrealism. Surrealism is an art and cultural movement that sprang out of Dadaism in 1924. Its genre spans from paintings to literature, music and film to performance art, pretty much all of the arts. Now, before we get into it, you know the deal. I am by no means an art teacher, an art expert, or an art historian. I'm just an artist with an interest. And these videos are more of a cursory glance at the history of Surrealism, as Surrealism has a lot of history to it, and we would be here all night if we wanted to really deep dive into it. So with that out of the way, let us commence. Founded by French poet and critic André Breton, Surrealism was created as a means to tap into the subconscious mind, bridging the gaps between fantasy and reality and forming a super reality, which the name is a portmanteau of. After treating shell shock victims during World War I using Freud's psychoanalytic methods, Breton believed that Freud's work of free association, dream analysis, and the subconscious mind were essential as a means to explore and express the philosophical, as Surrealism is a philosophical genre, which is why works of the genre oftentimes depict illogical or dreamlike settings with a focus on the element of surprise, non sequiturs, and unusual or unexpected juxtapositions. Breton was really big on this art style called automatism, which I use myself quite often. It is the creation of art through unrestricted subconscious flow, just letting the paint land where it may. And he believed that this approach and Surrealism was a more effective way of freeing people from the false rationalities of society and its restrictive customs and structures, which both the Dada movement and Surrealist movement viewed as a major catalyst into what caused the First World War, rather than the Dada movement's shock and awe tactics, which of course led to a bit of a schism amongst the two communities, creating a rival Surrealist group that oftentimes fought with Breton's Surrealist group, even to the point of a literal fight over the namesake of it, which eventually coalesced into the Surrealist Manifestos. Now, the Surrealist Manifestos were a series of publications that highlighted the movement's core tenets, established how Surrealism could be used outside of the art world, like in the political landscape, and establishing that it was a non-conformist movement in nature that doesn't follow defined rules. I had to do the edgy boy voice. What if your dick exploded? Had a little bit of a Spike TV fucking flashback there. It had its political influences for sure, which good art movement doesn't. With most of its founding members either being Trotskyists, anarchists, or communists, some of them even knowing Trotsky personally. And its influence has been felt throughout several political causes, like the French-based protests of 1968 that went on for 7 weeks from May to June, that basically brought the country's economy to a brief halt. The Polish-based Orange Alternative, which was an anti-authoritarian underground movement in the 1980s that used art and public performance to fight back against Stalinist occupation. And even though nobody's mentioned it yet, I personally would argue that mimetic protests like that AI video of Trump going full Quentin Tarantino from Dusk Till Dawn on Captain Ketamine's giant-ass Flintstone feet would also count as having some Surrealist influence to them. Some well-known contributors to the Surrealist movement are Spanish artist Salvador Dali, which I would imagine most folks think of when they immediately hear the word Surrealism, as his art style had a major influence on the overall aesthetics of Surrealism when he was around before he got kicked out, which was actually very common during the Breton years, as again, there was a lot of infighting over politics, and Breton was a bit of a shady queen. So, you know, sometimes somebody got kicked out because they didn't agree to a certain thing, sometimes it's just because he didn't like it. Inventor of the ready-made genre and the bane to every "this is art" profile's existence, Marcel Duchamp, American artist and photography pioneer Man Ray, Belgian artist René Magritte, Mexican artist and feminist icon Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo y Calderon, better known as Frida Kahlo, American-British comedian and one of my personal favorite filmmakers, Terry Gilliam, Russian filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky, Swedish theater and film director Ingmar Bergman. I've had to goof that name up. I've goofed that name up like 5 times. Japanese filmmaker and mangaka Satoshi Kon, and the recently departed legendary filmmaker David Lynch. I absolutely love surrealism. It tends to be the genre I work in the most, as a lot of my own works are psychological and philosophical in nature, grappling with issues like mental health, trauma, life, identity, and various aspects of politics and society. I find the use of absurdity and dreamlike psychedelic states to be a great vehicle to express those ideas and thoughts, and a fantastic way of making the uncomfortable more visually palatable to explore. And you can check out our work and maybe pick something up for yourself over at our Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/candydandyart. We actually just posted some new prints up over there, so go on and get them. Yes. And I don't know how all of this restructuring of the postal system is going to affect shipping and all that stuff, but I promise that I'm going to try to keep our prices affordable and reasonable, because I personally believe that everybody should be able to afford original art, not just people with a lot of money. So with that being said, this has been Candy Dandy. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good one.